Hi everyone, Matt here. A little over a year ago I purchased a pair of aluminum 461 double hump heads from Speedway Motors to install on a 400 small block Chevy that'll be going in a 2627 T street rod project that I've been working on for quite some time now. Through the assembly process, I'm going to be going through some prep issues with these cylinder heads that you may want to know about before you go ahead and spend your hard-earned money for them. So with no further ado, let's get started, and I hope you enjoy it. So here I have one of our cylinder heads on the workbench with some of the components that I'm going to be using with it, and here I'm going to show you the spec sheet that has the specifications, features, and optional supporting components. You know, that gives you the information you need to use to install one of these. And one thing that is of note is that it says here to use 100 thousandths longer push rods than what you're probably currently using. So if you're installing these on a motor that currently has, like, say, the original cast iron double hump heads, you're most likely going to have to use push rods that are almost 1/8 of an inch longer. Now, push rod length can vary from motor to motor depending on the valve lift and the camshafts, base circle diameter, types of lifters used, and it goes on and on and on. And what I'll be doing is checking the length that I need with a push rod length checker, and we'll get to that at a later time. But I just want to show you what I have here to do this installation job on my 400. As far as the head bolts go, well, I'm not using bolts. I opted to use the ARP 12-point stud kit. Now, you don't have to get this elaborate. You could use good quality head bolts if you want to. The price difference is phenomenal. There's probably $100 difference between that set of ARP studs and the equivalent ARP head bolts. You know, that's totally up to you. The reason I got them is for aesthetics. You know, this is going to be on an open wheeled, open engine bay roadster, so aesthetics mean about as much as performance does. So I want it to look as good as it sounds and runs. So moving on, like I said before, this is going on a 400 1972 400 511 block, and that requires a special gasket kit that isn't necessarily easy to get. Now, I got a gasket set from Summit Racing, you know, the trick flow gasket set for the 400s. That includes, and I'll post that in just a second. But it came with this Felpro blue head gasket, which I'll be using. So you can see the steam holes right here. There's one and there's two. This is the intake side and this is the exhaust side. And I made a jig plate for drilling said steam holes right here. And I did a series of videos constructing this thing, so if you're interested in making one for yourself, I'll post the links to those videos. You can go back and review it on your own, or if you'd like to get in touch with me, I may even be open to making one or two more of these for a little bit of a price. So how this works is, instead of setting the head up on a milling machine or something equivalent to that, you can just do it right on the workbench. And what I'll take is a either a 5/16 drill here, through the holes I drilled for the dowel pins, install it in there. There and there, because they're slightly undersized. They're not going to be as tight as dowel pins, and I do not use dowel pins if you're going to be putting one of these plates on your heads, or it'll wind up getting stuck and you'll have to bang it off. Don't ask me how I know that. But anyways, I can bolt it fast here, and I can drill my holes, bang, 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 bang. These are the intake sides. These are at a 30-degree angle away from the intake ports, so they can get through the water jackets on aluminum heads. And you have to check with your head manufacturer before you do this, because not every head manufacturer recommends drilling these right here, the ones toward the intake. I think Edelbrock recommends you only drill the ones on the exhaust side. You know, don't hold me to that, but just off the top of my head, that's what comes to mind. So we'll be getting use out of that. And moving on down the line, I'll show you what I used for head gaskets, and showed you what I used for a gasket kit and the stud kit. And you can compare the prices from what I paid for them to what you may find them for somewhere else. That's completely up to you. So here you go. And here is our victim that these heads will be going on. This is my 400. This was cast and assembled in the summer of 1972 and spent its life in a 1973 Caprice estate wagon until my father and I got a hold of it. Sometime in the 1980s, it became our project. But now here it is, being resurrected again for a new life. But one of the things I'd like to show you here is the port matching that needs to be done on these heads. And seeing really is believing, because I was pretty shocked when I saw it at first, how bad it is. Now some of you fellows or gals that have put motors together and put aftermarket aluminum heads on engines before may not be too shocked by this, but I am, because I was never able to afford aluminum heads before to put on anything. Everything had to be stock cast iron modified. And it would have been nice to be able to afford stuff like Trick Flow and Brodex back in the day, but it was just out of my range. I had other responsibilities. But like I said before, if you're looking to put these on an already existing running motor, these are some things you need to be aware of before you spend your hard-earned money. And you have to decide for yourself if you want to deal with it or not. Because there you go. Let's try to line that up a little better. You can take a look at this right here. Move the camera over this way because I actually have one of the ports outlined to give you a better idea. You see right here, the floor is way high, the roof's way high, the gasket's going to need to be cut pretty thin right about there, and the port extended, and the same over here. So we're going to have our work cut out for us to get these to match up to a decent matchup job to an intake. And what I want to say, you want to keep all your ports, you know, the cross-sectional area of them symmetrical, so you're not getting really erratic flow numbers from one port to the next. But these are definitely going to need some grinder work done, and we'll get into that. Going to take this off. And right there, you can see for yourself, that's the mismatch the recommended gasket called for in the spec sheet. I actually tried to do a customer review about this on Speedway Motors website regarding these cylinder heads. My earliest customer review they published. This one about this particular issue, they did not. I guess there's a guess it wasn't good for business. I don't know. You be the judge of it. You decide if you want to dive into all that or not, if you want to purchase these heads. So moving on. So here I have an older wind accelerator intake 7546 that's basically new, and I'm going to bolt it up to the one head here and then stick a bore scope down the intake runners to give you an idea what that mismatch looks like while it's installed on the engine. So, thanks for watching part 1 of assembling a 400 small block Chevy using the 461 aluminum double hump heads from Speedway Motors videos. And you can decide for yourself if the parts I'm using are right for you or not. There's a little to be desired here, and as part of my quest is to take some of this stuff off the shelf and expose what's good about it, what's bad about it, and what's ugly about it. So until next time, be safe and have a good one. Hey, Roscoe. Hey, boy.